Hey, what is going on, everybody? Ben Morgan, Fins Up Network. First of two Dolphins Panthers preview videos this week. Unlike last week when the hotel internet just completely killed me and I had to pack both videos into one, not going to have to be the case this week. Get to do two. So in today's, we're talking latest team news, injury updates, and an unfortunate one that involves one of the league's most dynamic running backs. Like I said, we'll get to all that. We'll talk top matchups, keys to victory. We'll get to all of that. But before I get started, the second preview video will be the official prediction video. Once again, for that one, I'm going to be taking some viewer questions to tackle throughout that video. So go ahead. Any questions you'd like considered for that one, go ahead, drop them in the comments. I'll get to as many as possible. But let's start with that bad news. Talked about it already. De'Von Achane officially placed on IR, meaning he will miss at least 4 weeks. Mike McDaniel said, we don't need to worry about him being gone full-term IR the entire season. It's likely going to be a little bit more short-term. It was kind of some gray area, 50-50. Are we putting him on there? But the thing is, after those 4 weeks, Dolphins got their bye. So it's almost like a 5-week rest, and then it'll be Raiders week 11. So we'll see if he's back by then, but that is at this point in time when he was be eligible to return to the Miami Dolphins. We're going to talk about Achane. We're going to talk about replacing his production later in this video. So stay tuned for that as well. But speaking of another running back, Jeff Wilson returned to practice on Wednesday, which means his 21-day window to be placed back on the team's active roster has officially opened since he joined that practice. If they don't activate him, he'll remain on IR for the season. That doesn't seem to likely be the case. It seems like at some point they will activate him. We'll see if it's this week or not. Stay tuned to the next preview video. We'll talk more about that. But it's interesting to consider just the sheer amount of guys that the Dolphins have on IR and what the Dolphins are going to do when these guys come back, because there's a lot of guys that are expected to come back. It's the Teron Armsteads, the Achans, the Jeff Wilsons, the Jalen Ramseys, the Robert Jones, all those guys that are likely coming back at some point in time. Well, in the Dolphins front office, coaching staff, you got to make decisions, because every time one of those guys gets brought back, another guy is going to have to be taken off of that active roster. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be curious to see. If you have any thoughts on that, I'd be curious to hear what you have as well. So drop those thoughts in the comments as well. Let's talk more about some latest injury updates. Jalen Phillips, we've been without him a little bit more than anyone would like to be, but I can tell you what as well, having on good authority, he wants to play. He wants to be back. But as the team has been doing with injuries this year, taking the safe route, long game in mind, holding him out a little bit longer. We'll see how things look on Sunday. We'll update that one as well. Considered day-to-day at this point in time. Connor Williams was a DNP on Wednesday. You can expect him to get very light work throughout the week, but man, we saw his importance. That game against the Giants, you compare that against the Bills. I know it's completely different levels of competition, but our offensive line is an entirely different unit when it's Connor Williams at center versus Liam Eichenberg. So I would expect him out there, but expect a pretty light workload in practice leading up to that. Let's get into some of those top matchups, some of the keys to victory. And can I speak for everyone when I say, number one, just don't beat yourself. If there was the only way that we could have possibly lost last week to the Giants, it would have been our own fault. And I kind of see the Carolina Panthers as a similar kind of team situation as what we played with the Giants this last week. Look at the Panthers on offense. We're not talking about a juggernaut here. In total yards per game, they're 23rd. 22nd in passing, 21st in rushing. You're looking at an average offense to basically a below average offense. The one person that's really been shining for them, Adam Thielen. Nice year, 38 catches, 394 yards, 3 touchdowns. No other pass catcher tops 175 yards on the entire season. This is likely not a game that we're going to need to go blow for blow, shootout up and down the field. It doesn't have the makings of that. Bryce Young, rookie quarterback, I don't mind him. He's had some ups and downs, probably more downs than ups. Carolina Panthers are a winless team. The only winless team remaining in the NFL, and I'm not trying to put that on Bryce Young. It's just the team's not ready. They're not quite there yet. Because look what they've done on the ground as well. Miles Sanders leads them with 190 yards. That's like a game for De'Von Achane. 3.1 yards per carry. That's it. They have 1 rushing touchdown on the game, on the season, compared to 7 through the air. But like I said, you look at like last week against the Giants, it's just that inferior opponent. You can't have a letdown because you know you've got Sunday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles on deck. End of the day, don't have a letdown. Don't beat yourself. The defense last week showed out. They showed up. They showed out. You could essentially say they gave up 6 points. The Dolphins offense gave up the touchdown on the pick six. And then the second interception by Tua essentially put the Giants in what, field goal range? So if you do the math on that, the Miami Dolphins defense essentially allowed like 6 points. Pretty damn good. So you limit your penalties, you limit your turnovers, you don't let them score off of turnovers, you stay within your game plan. You're not likely going to need to get into a shootout. You should be okay. Let's talk a little bit more about the Achane situation and how are we going to replace him? Because my second matchup, it's Raheem Mostert and that running game. This is big day potential. I tell you what, if you're a fantasy owner of a guy like Raheem Mostert, it's plug and play. Look at what the Panthers have done defensively this year. They're 13th in total defense, total yards. They're 5th in pass defense. Their pass defense has been pretty good statistically, but they're 26th against the run, meaning we should be able to continue having the feast that we have had on the ground recently. And yeah, a lot of that was De'Von Achane. I get that, but we still got Raheem Mostert. You still got Salvon Ahmed. You still got Chris Brooks. We'll see what happens with Jeff Wilson. We'll see how all that plays out. We've got guys that have proven that they can come in and step up as well. Look at Raheem Mostert. Talk about a guy that's just kind of being overshadowed more so than anything by De'Von Achane. He's had a couple of fumbles, but outside of that, guy's been unbelievable. 58 carries, 314 yards. That's 5.4 yards per carry. If De'Von Achane wasn't averaging over 12 yards per carry and scoring all these touchdowns, we'd be saying, man, Raheem Mostert's doing a pretty damn good job leading this backfield. 7 rushing touchdowns as well. And you look at a guy like Salvon Ahmed and know the numbers haven't been there. He's been a little bit injured, but he's had some time to heal. He's getting back into practice. We know that he's a good fit in the scheme, and we know that he can get it done through the air as a pass catcher as well. So that can kind of take over some of what Achane brought to the table as well. You got Chris Brooks. He's averaging 7.3 yards per carry, and I know that came in the essential massacre of the Denver Broncos a few weeks back where everyone was having their way. But at the end of the day, he still came in. He got the job done. And then we saw him last week as well in a little bit of an expanded role, being an extra blocker on some of those motion plays, being an extra running back on the field when they had a couple of running backs at the same time. So essentially, you establish the running game. You remain committed to that running game. Stay within your game plan. Like I said, you don't need to do anything too crazy. Yeah, we want to see Tua pop off. Yeah, we want to see Tyreek go for 200. We want to have a huge day. We want to have a breakout from 17. We want to get a couple of waddles. I get all that. But just stay within yourself. Don't mess it up. Stay committed to that running game. Things should take care of themselves. But like I said, I am going to be back with the final prediction video as well. Any questions you would like considered for that one, drop them in the comments. We'll hit on as many of those as possible. But that's what I've got for this first Dolphins-Panthers preview video. Until the next one, Dolphins fans, fins up.